What's going on, guys? Gaming Magician here, and I'm gonna do something that any of you guys that watch Kyle's videos, Kyle Shot You that is, in case you don't really follow my channel, which probably most of you don't, but he did a zombie survival sort of where he kind of talked about what he would do, and I figured I was gonna do something similar, so I kind of talked to him about it, and currently he actually doesn't have a voice, so what we actually decided we're going to do is I'm going to kind of talk about mine, and then we're going to do a dual com, just kind of like comparing the two and just kind of sharing ideas with what we would do. So kind of going off of something that Kyle said, it's most likely going to be some sort of infectious disease, not airborne or anything like that, but obviously, since there's going to be dead bodies and just a shitload of rotting stuff, water supply could easily be infected. So and in case, or I didn't say it actually, currently I'm just going to go over my list of what I need. But so water supply is obviously going to be infected with something, not necessarily whatever this fancy zombie disease is, but so number one on my list would be water, and that includes purification, be it a filter system or just tablets like chlorine tablets, and is obviously very important because water is just it's just hugely important to the human body for every little function. So you're gonna die if you don't have enough water. So water's number one on my list, and these really aren't in any particular order, just kind of what came to thought first. And after talking about zombie survival with my friends, the way that we've decided that we think we should do it is we should have 3 vehicles and travel in kind of like a small convoy, and we want to have 2 SUVs to carry people, and the SUVs we would prefer, really all the vehicles, we would prefer for them to be diesel. I'll get into that later. And then like a small 4-cylinder truck, that way we can haul stuff, and also 4-cylinder because it would be fairly good on gas. And I have 3 friends in mind that I would bring with me. I'm not really gonna give their names away, but one of them is really good with survival and just overall good with like nature and stuff like that. The other, fairly good with survival, but also good with like electronics and building shit. And then the other I'm honestly just bringing because he's one of my best friends and we just get along together, and he's just, I don't know, he's good at working, or he's a good person to work with, I guess you could say. And now to weapons. My primary weapon I would want would be an AK. This kind of sounds dumb, but the main reason I would want it is because obviously AKs are cheap as hell, and also they're really, really reliable, although they're incredibly inaccurate. And then another thing is the 7.62 round is just incredibly powerful, and it's a very, very common and cheap round, so it would be very easy to stockpile. And then as a secondary, I would want a Beretta M9, mainly because 9mm ammo is really, really, really light. It's also much cheaper than 45, and most people have a 9 handgun. So should you meet somebody, you could also share ammo if it were needed. And an M9 is just a fairly common weapon with the military, so I don't know, not saying that the military would really be able to help, though I would hope they could. You could share ammo with military and also mags. And also, I already said it's cheap, ammo's light, and an M9 can hold more ammo than most 45 pistols, so yeah. And then this next one, it probably should have been number 2 on my list, but I just kind of thought of it after I wrote this other stuff down. But canned goods, simply because they tend to last fairly long, and it's a good source of food, and there's just, you can find everything in a can, basically. So yeah, obviously you need food, because you need some sort of energy to kill zombies. So now to medical supplies. Some things that I had on the list were things like Quick Clot, just in case you were to get a bad cut, or possibly some dick tried to steal all of your stuff and maybe shot you, just in an attempt to get more supplies for himself. So Quick Clot, and then gauze, obviously, just to help stop bleeding for anything, IVs in case you get sick, and then really just any sort of like typical medication for common stuff like colds, you know, stuff like that. And then clothing, and I don't mean like a whole like closet full of clothing, just, you know, a couple spare changes of clothes, and then maybe like 2 pairs of boots, because if you think about it, you don't want to be wearing the same clothes forever. And kind of the way I see it is, if a zombie outbreak were to happen, I feel it would be contained fairly fast, unless like the government or something tried to hide it. But I feel it would be contained fairly fast, and you would be able to last for however long it was with just that little amount of clothing. But now to really why I put clothing on there is, one, the likelihood of maybe your boots or something getting destroyed, that's pretty high, so you want to have a spare. And then also, if you were to get any sort of infectious materials on said clothing, you would want to have something to change into, so that you don't transfer it if you got hurt while wearing that clothing, and then you can wash your clothes. And then soap, just because, I don't know, typically when stuff is very dirty and there's zombies and such around, stuff can get pretty nasty, and you can get fairly sick from all of that. So soap to clean stuff up. And then a utility knife, which could be used like if you really needed to, even though I would never recommend it as some sort of melee weapon. But also because they're just really good for anything. Even you could chop down a tree if you really needed to. I mean, not a big ass tree, but you could chop down a tree. And then a multi-tool just for any sort of repairs that you need to do, like on the fly. And then just a toolkit for just like building, you know, say you need to barricade something, or you need to fix your truck, or anything like that. And then fuel, which that could be gasoline, or why I want diesel vehicles, biodiesel, or just diesel in general. You could start with diesel, and then you could just start making your own biodiesel, which kind of leads me into my next part, which is some sort of primitive and portable way to make biodiesel, because, you know, you want it portable, and also you want to have a way to have a self-sustaining fuel supply. Oh, sorry, I yawned. I'm kind of tired. But, yeah, you want some sort of self-containing fuel supply. And then also, basic building supplies, should you need to build something besides just barricades, maybe add on to something, or make some sort of safe room, or just build shelves of some sort. And now, so that's basically my list. That's really all that I came up with in probably like 6 or 7 minutes. So, I got about 3.5 minutes, maybe 4.5 minutes left on the gameplay, which, I haven't even talked about yet. I apologize. I just jumped right into this, because I just love talking about zombies and shit like this. So, obviously, as you can probably tell, it's Left 4 Dead 2. And I just kind of figured that would be a good game for anything talking about zombies. Sort of a yawn again, sorry. But, I just figured it would be a good game. I'm not very good at Left 4 Dead, but It's really the only zombie game I have besides Dead Island, but that game's really boring unless you're doing some sort of live comm. So, yeah, just Left 4 Dead 2, nothing special. Alright, and now that I got that out of the way, just basic tactics on what I would do. For the first couple days, like maybe day 1 through 3, I live in a not rural but fairly rural area, and I believe it would be fairly safe to stay at my house. That way I can live off of supplies at my house instead of using my supplies already. And best case scenario, whatever it is would be contained and everything would be okay after I run out of supplies. But then I would want to start moving. I would meet up with all my friends and just travel in a convoy, interstate preferably, but I bet the interstate would be packed with abandoned cars. So yeah, so interstate preferably, but if I can't, just drive around, because I don't want to sit still for too long, because it's not the best idea. You want to keep moving. You don't want to get too used to one location, and you don't want to feel too safe anywhere. So you just want to keep moving and just obviously have some sort of good shelter, but you just don't want to rely on one place, and you don't want to use up all the resources in that one place. So then next would also be, whenever you stop, I would recommend staying for 1 to 3 days in order to gather supplies there. Also get a feel for the area just in case you decide you want to do some sort of like circling route. Say you go to one place for a couple days, then to the next place for a couple days. That way, I don't know, you can just keep moving, you can just make sure that your shelter is good, and also maybe pick up some other survivors on the way. And also, it's typically just good to have multiple places to go. And then when it comes to actually fighting, I would say just try and keep your distance, and try your best to keep the, not necessarily collateral damage, but I guess spray to a minimum. And by spray, I don't mean like spraying your weapon, I mean like blood spray, because if you kill a zombie and you get blood all over your buddy that's 10 feet away from that zombie, and I don't know why I just motioned with my hand, but you don't want to accidentally infect your buddy that has a huge open wound on their face. But yeah, so, and then if it really comes down to it, melee, but you rarely want to just because you get bit or you get scratched or whatever and you get infected, it's not good, and the zombies have won. So that's just kind of my basic idea. I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into it, but I put a little bit of thought into it and just some stuff that I've talked about with friends before. So this gameplay should be ending right about now. I'm not actually watching it right now because I have my survival list open, but yeah, so I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully that video with Kyle will be coming soon. So Kyle, get your voice back so we can do this. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And yeah, so thanks for watching.